We are trying for a 24-hour reading vlog. I kind of started cheering up because it's really crazy that we started this in May. Refuses to acknowledge that she's actually queer and she hates men. That's a read. I'm starting a book club. Welcome back to My Creative Life with Sweetie, where we read books and we make art. Today, we're vlogging. We are trying for a 24-hour reading vlog. Now, I'm going to put it at more so like 20 because I planned this on the only open day that I had to possibly do this because of one, how much work I need to get done. It's actually really overwhelming, as well as how many books I am trying to get done before the end of the year to try and hit my goal. With that being said, that means that I will be mixing both audiobook and physical reads in today, but we also have a Christmas brunch tomorrow, so the idea of me doing an actual 24-hour read was just not going to be possible. But I also know that last year when I did my 24-hour read, I found 2 new 5 stars, and I knocked out like 3-4 books, which is big for me because that's basically how much I get done in a month. That is what we have planned for today. I'm going to be knocking out chores and I'm going to be reading books. What we have to read today are, I'm going to try and finally read Rest Stop. That's going to be my physical read. I finally have Bloom on audio, so we're gonna knock that out. I started the other day Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung, and so I'm gonna finish that. The first story was weird and wild and interesting, and so it's nothing but a bunch of short stories, so it still kind of meets the brief because I'm trying to read nothing but short stories and novellas in this readathon to just kind of really, I could feel the reading fatigue setting in, and I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. So reading shorter things, more satisfying things, I think is going to do that. I also just got my audiobook for The Darkest Night, which is very surprising because they told me that I wasn't gonna get it in December. So I guess everybody else wasn't ready for it either. And I just got that. So that is the plan. The Darkest Night, Rest Stop by Cassidy, Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung, and what else did I say? Bloom. Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. I know that there's probably other ones, and I have a lot of shorter audiobooks that are on my TBR, but I really want to go for things that, one, I can't usually read because they're physical reads, and also super, super short stories for today. While I'm doing all of that, I'll be knocking out deliveries and orders for my shop. I'll be cleaning, lots and lots of cleaning. I have so much laundry to do and fold and put away, and it's been overwhelming. I'm also going to be designing some things for my Patreon. I'm going to be, what else am I going to be doing? Just random cleaning up around the house. I have some book mechs that I need to kind of finish, and I really want to get ahead of it before the work week starts again, just because I kind of fell behind on some of them, to be completely honest. And there's just a lot for me to do, and I think today is definitely a day to do it, where nobody bothers me. I simply focus in, and I become the ADHD working goddess that I am. So, all that being said, let's get started because it's already late in the day. Also, unrelated, and speaking of Patreon and patrons, Alexandria from Haunted Homemaking here on YouTube, you should check her out. She is so dope. Amazing crafter. She sent me her holiday postcard with her and her little haunted family for this year. Come on, let's focus. I wonder if that's backwards. But look how cute this is. It's so cute. Thank you so much again, Alexandria, if you are watching. This is just adorable, and it makes me really want, I've always wanted to do holiday cards for the end of the year, and I always mean to, but unfortunately we were only given 24 hours in a day and not 48. But this is just absolutely too cute, and I'm going to put it up. I think I'm going to put it with our Christmas stuff because we don't really get Christmas cards. That's also why I love getting Christmas cards, because no one does it anymore. Ugh. So thank you again, Alexandria. All right, let's get started. I need coffee. I think I'm going to take my supplements and then give it a moment while I'm making my coffee, put a load in the laundry, And all of that while I continue reading Cursed Bunny. So I'll check back in soon enough, wherever it makes sense to check back in. Okay, check in. It is now an hour and 30 into my 20-hour readathon type of thing. I've not caught any B-roll because I've been focused. I have finished 2 stories from Cursed Bunny so far, and they have been interestingly weird. Very, very weird. I think that is what definitely this book is going to be, is just really weird vibes, like super weird vibes, which I'm not mad at. Like, I enjoyed them. I'm kind of sitting here still going, what are we, like, what's the metaphor? The last one I read had to do with a woman who had a period, who was having an extremely harsh period. They put her on birth control and they kind of stopped, but then they came back. So she put herself back on birth control for an elongated amount of time. And basically what ends up happening is that they're saying like she's pregnant, and she's like, there's no way I could be pregnant because, one, I've not been with anybody. I don't have a boyfriend. I'm not married. I've been just writing my thesis 24/7. They're like, well, you're pregnant and you need to find a baby for this pregnancy, or else this baby isn't going to come to full form and it's going to affect the pregnancy. And she's like, that's all you're going to tell me? And you're not going to sit here and actually help me? And they're like, no, the help we give you is finding this baby a father. The rest of the story is basically this whole thing of her going through term, trying to find a father for this child, men being idiots during the entire time this is happening, her family not really being supportive but not being helpful, and her finally going to term. I don't want to ruin it for anybody who wants to read it on how it all kind of ends, but there's many things that could be being addressed in that story, so still parsing that out. The first story was very interesting, and I'm still trying to kind of parse that one out too, and it had to do with this woman who went to the bathroom and all of a sudden a head was forming from her excrement in the bathroom, like from the pipes and the plumbing in the bathroom, and it's talking to her and calling her mother, and she's like, what are you talking about? Like, you're with what? And so she like ends up flushing it. It keeps on growing because it's basically building a body from itself. She's trying to get rid of it, and I think it has to do something with conversations of ageism and mother-daughter type of issues and things like that, from how the ending kind of was, and how those issues can manifest, like parental issues can manifest into resentment on both sides. So yeah, that was a wild ride. To start out the gate with that one was like, oh no, you're reading something weird. I'm now reading, I just barely started Cursed Bunny, the actual title of the book, and it's talking about like some lamp. I didn't go really any further because after that I started reading my partner from Night Terror magazine, her article and copy for this month's zine, this month's issue, which I'm so excited for y'all to read what she wrote. I mean, I kind of started cheering up because it's really crazy that we started this in May and we've been doing it for 8 months now, and with so many collaborators, with physical copies that are just, it's crazy that we've even created this thing and what it's kind of grown from. So I hope that whoever is reading those zines and is a patron and everything really enjoys this month's issue, because we do really feel like every issue we put our heart into it, but it gets a little sentimental in this one for the end of year. So I stopped and I kind of read some of that. I need to do these orders. I have to get through these orders, and then I think that I'm going to do my own Patreon stuff, but I'm not going to finish it today. I want to finish it so that I can ship it on Monday, because it ain't gonna happen tomorrow. Tomorrow we have 2 back-to-back Christmas things, so it's just not gonna happen. I want to say like 5 more hours left of Cursed Bunny. Yeah, like 5 hours, 43 minutes of Cursed Bunny. So it's going well, and I think I'm going to like knock up the the reading speed to about 1.5. I usually read around 1.25. I don't know how y'all be out here reading at 2 times speed all the time. Like sometimes I just feel like I'm not retaining it. So I'm gonna keep on reading that. Hopefully by the time I check back in with y'all, I've gotten a good amount. I hope that next time I check in, I'm probably halfway done. But we will see. And I'll do better with maybe getting some B-roll and some things of me being in other places other than my cave of an office, because I have these Christmas lights on. And yes, I plan on cleaning that desk. It's been a mess for far too long and I really need to tidy up my craft corner. Like things have gotten away from me, y'all. So let's continue. So far so good. Okay, so we are working on getting close to going into just hour 2 or 3 on the readathon vlog. I told y'all and promised that I would post and vlog from somewhere other than my cave of an office. So here we are in the car. I have to run errands. I have to ship those packages you just saw me package, those orders that y'all just saw me package. I need to go ship those. I also realized that my printer is running out of ink, and I need to do that now because I know that by the time I do run out of ink, I will probably need said ink and it'll become a whole situation. So I'm gonna go out to Staples to go get that. I also realized I was getting low on photo printer paper, so I'm getting those. And since I'm gonna be on that side of town, I'm also going to, nearly forgot, I'm going to go past Home Goods because we have a favorite things Christmas brunch tomorrow, and one of the things I got for my gift, I didn't notice. I think I was moving too fast. Something fell out of it, so I want to see if I can return it for another one. I need to do that. Since I'll also be near a Target, I need to go to Target. So I'm going to be doing all of that while listening to my audiobook for Cursed Bunny in the car. I have about 4 hours left on it, and it's been good so far. I just finished one, and I think that it was my favorite. Actually, there were 2 back-to-back really good ones. I just finished The Frozen Finger, and that one was really, really good. I liked that. I think it was built out really well. I think in audiobook form, it was told really well. So I so far, I'm like kind of, you guys, I give each short story in a collection, like its own individual rating. So I think that one's kind of a 4.5 for me. And then I did The Cursed Bunny, which that was really interesting and it kind of got dark. So I think that one was more like a 4. I think the whole thing at the end wasn't as big of a reveal in my opinion. And I think the author was hoping I thrifted this book. So there were a couple of notes from the person who read it who was like, oh, I love this one and I love this one and I love this one. I don't know why they didn't keep it if they loved like a majority of the book, but whatever. But I appreciated the twist at the end. And I also liked where the story was, what the story was about and everything. I think that it was a bit original while still talking about something that we know a lot about. That was The Frozen Finger. That's all I'm going to give you because I did like that one. I'm going to hopefully finish this up. I don't know, by the time I check back in with y'all, I may not. Right now it is about to be 2 o'clock. I have about 4 hours left in the audiobook. So I'll probably check back in on the next 2 stories. It seems like I'm checking every 2 stories. So I'm probably going to do that. But yeah, so far so good. Let's continue.
It once more shoved its hard and sharp thing into the boy's neck. The boy thought he was finally done for. He clearly felt the flesh on his neck tear, and the relentless, painful, sharp thing digging in between his bones. Thinking his neck would be cut in half, he closed his eyes and woke.
Just finished up almost all of my, I finished up all of my I need to leave type of things. It is already 4:30, which don't we love that? I know I do. Oh no! I took a call and it basically ruined my countdown. I hate that for me. Well, finish some more. I think I listened to what is definitely a 5-star, and it was called Goodbye My Love. So good. Like 5-star status. The one before that was a little weird. And I'm still starting to parse out the metaphor of it. Like, it kind of was more like a 3. And even the one I'm listening to right now, I think personally would probably be a 3 as well. The Goodbye My Love was an AI robot love but takeover type of thing that was written really, really well in my opinion. Like, that one had a reveal at the end that I was like, oh, that was good. What I'm reading about right now has to do with some, like, it's kind of giving Gladiator. Like, it low-key giving Gladiator. So, it's alright. And then the one before that had to do with foxes and incest, and it didn't really add up for me. So, but so far the book's been really great. I'm now going to head home and move through as much as I can move through. Okay, surprise, we're back in my office. I've almost finished my laundry, which is great. And I finished Cursed Bunny. This is great. It's worth the hype. I'm glad it is too, because it's a wonderful cover. I definitely want to read Utopia now. So probably next May, or this upcoming May, I'll probably read Utopia, which a lot of people have said is really good. Also, I found this note. This is why I love thrifting books. People leave stuff in their books that they thrift, or that they donate. And it's like this little Merry Christmas note that somebody gave to somebody who they gave this book to. Now, I'm pretty positive person must not have liked the book, because here it is being donated, but it still was really nice, and the notes were really funny. I mean, it wasn't personal, so basically somebody read the book, they loved it. I guess their name was, I want to say, Grayson. Their handwriting leaves a little to be desired. That's Grayson, right? That's giving Grayson. Like Gacyn is what I'm reading. I don't know, but Grayson basically loved this book. Said Eve Babbitts. I don't know what Eve Babbitts is. I need to look that up. They repeated it 3 times. Literally the only thing circling my mind during the month of December, as it should be, because this woman is as captivating as she is glamorous. I couldn't think of anyone else who would appreciate this book as much as you would. She is an LA native, born and raised, socialite, groupie, adventurous, and need I say more? P.S. This may prompt you to move back to California sooner. I'm guessing they either moved back to California or Grayson never sent this book for one reason or another. But wonderful little bookmark. I'm saving it in the book where my favorite story was, which was Goodbye My Love. Since I checked back in with you, I've read quite a few since finishing the book. One was Scars, which it was alright. I wasn't a humongous fan of it, to be honest, especially after reading Goodbye My Love, which I really loved. So I think I gave that one, I gave it a 3, but honestly, it's more like 2.5 status. Like, I didn't hate it. It just was like, it was a long one. And I don't feel like, I'm gonna mark it as a 2.5. It wasn't that amazing to me. And apparently, Grayson didn't think so either, because this is where they marked all the ones that they love, which has been fun to compare. We've basically loved the same ones, to be honest. So that's great. I mean, other than the Frozen Finger. Home Sweet Home was the next one. That one also started to this is how long Scars was. This long compared to the rest of the book. That was pretty long. Home Sweet Home, loved. I really loved that one. I gave it a 5. It started off kind of feeling a little bit like, this is cool, but I don't think I'm really excited about it. And then the way it was written with the reveal at the end, it wasn't like something that was brand new, like we hadn't heard of it before, but it was written in a way that I was very entertained. I'm gonna give it a 4.5. It's 4.5. Because then I read another one and I'm like, that's giving 5 status. And it also, like, in comparison to Goodbye My Love, it's not as good as that one, but it has some drama with the husband. It has some haunting. It's a home haunting, so it was fun. It started off a little bit like, where is this going? But near the end, I was like, oh, didn't see that the way you wrote it, I didn't know that that was what was happening. So that was great. And then I had the worst one I've read in this entire book, and that was Ruler of the Winds and Sands. I gave it a 2, and that was me kind of being generous. To be honest, it's the one that's probably the most fantasy driven. Like, it's kind of lore and fantasy driven, which, as y'all know, I'm just not a huge person for fantasy. So I was bored the entire time, and in all honesty, like, to be coming off the last one and then going into this one, it didn't feel like a smooth transition. So that was a 2, and then I was like, oh, I've got basically 5 pages left. Like, what could possibly be after that one? And it ended up being a 5 for me, and it was called Reunion. I can't really tell you what happens in it without basically telling you the reveal at the end. But the reveal at the end, again, wasn't something brand new that we had never heard of before, but the way it was written, it made it so enjoyable, and it reminded me why. Like, there's sometimes certain writing that makes you go, oh, and that's why we use that trope over and over again, because it's so good. And if it's written well, no one cares if it's been done before because you didn't see it coming. So that's all I'll say about that one. But it hit 5 territory because of a line in it that I had to highlight. And even Grayson, who had this book, also highlighted it because it's really, honestly, really great. I'm like, ugh, this is such a line. Parents who destroy their children's lives, who suck the life out of their children's futures, not only for the sake of maintaining their own illusions, but also to zealously expand them into the lives of their children. Such parents can be almost understood from the perspective of obsession. Following the words, "Be grateful I raised you," is the implied clause, instead of killing you or leaving you for dead. They probably mean it too. My parents and their parents' generations, after surviving the Korean War, had always said, just like the generation that survived World War II, set their purpose not to live a human life, but to have an animal's instinct for survival. Still, understanding and forgiving are completely different things. That last sentence, understanding and forgiving are completely different things. As somebody who's currently going through so many transitions of relationships, familial-wise, friend-wise, just overall people-wise, but especially family-wise right now, this year was very rough and for me personally regarding that. Understanding why a parent or a person does things that are hurtful is very different from just forgiving them. And I think that that is something that a lot of people, especially people of color, people who have grown up with family members who have had to survive quite a bit, have to learn as we move through healing. I think a lot of people my age, millennials, and even those who are just simply getting therapy over healing through parental family trauma, when we then hold family, and I'm going to speak of family specifically in this, responsible for the trauma that they've caused, in a lot of situations, we're looked at as if we're hurting them on purpose. We should be grateful that they're even in our lives or that they even were a part of our lives. And if they're parents, the "I brought you in this world, I could take you out" threats, or at least I was there, which is like, that's base level of the title. The understanding that you also grew up in or with parents, or you yourself, during a time of simple survival, rather than understanding, healing, growth, this, that, and the third, because of political reasons, because of lifestyle reasons of the era and everything. Just because I may understand why you may be the way you are does not make, one, what you've done right. It still means that you should take responsibility for the fact that that habit isn't something that's healthy, that it's something that's hurtful, and that even though I may understand what you've done, it does not mean that I forgive what you've done. And that's a dichotomy that a lot of people don't understand. That letting go, a lot of people will go, well, just, you gotta let it go. And letting go is only possible moving through something, moving through an issue, not simply forgetting the issue. To end this book on that note, on such a killer of a paragraph is amazing. So that got a 5 out of me. So yeah, Cursed Bunny, highly recommend. The next one that I feel like I'm going to listen to is Luster. It's by Raven Leilani, and it's 7-hour audiobook, but I'm feeling like it's something that I'm gonna listen to in 1.5 speed, and it seems spicy and interesting, but again, it's 7 hours. Technically, Cursed Bunny is 7 hours, right? So that's basically my day. But like physically reading right now at this current, I can't do that because I have a couple of things that I just need to get done. So that I still need to get done before the end of the day. Really comes to an end. Right now it's 8 o'clock. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. So even if I was to sit there and listen on 1.5 speed, Luster may not get finished till 2 o'clock in the morning, which I'm not exactly like, oh, I'm horrified at that, but it is like, oh, okay, let's see what happens, you know? That being said, let me get off of here so that I can actually get to reading. I am 23% into Luster. I didn't want to stop doing tidying up and wrapping some gifts for tomorrow's brunch. I just didn't want to stop until I was done kind of doing a bunch of stuff that I needed to do to run around before I check back in with y'all. Regardless, I didn't really want to stop the book. This is it's really good. I'm afraid to see what the ending or like where it goes from here, since I'm nearly a quarter through, which also tells me I'm making good time because I started this around 8 o'clock and it's 9:30 currently, so that tells me that about an hour and a half for each section, which, wait, 1, that's 2, that's 3, no, 4.5 hours. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. If it's an hour and a half times 3, you have 4.5 hours. Oh my god. I'm sorry, y'all caught why I was an art major all on camera. So 9, so I'm looking at 2 o'clock like I originally thought. It's really good. I like it. It's extremely messy. Our main character, I think also I love it because the main character works in publishing, in editorial specifically, but she wants to work in the art department. She's a painter and an artist, but hasn't done so in a very long time. She has extreme self-worth issues, to be completely honest, and she's gotten wrapped up with this white family type of situation because of that lack of self-worth, and she's slept with nearly half the company. So it's been interesting. I think the main character, I really like the main character. It's kind of, I read earlier this year The Other Black Girl, and I feel like what I didn't really too much care for it, and I feel like what they were going for that character, this unhinged Black girl, in the sense of like you don't really like her. There's a lot of like bad decisions and like rush decisions that she's making, her life, where it's at, this, that, and the other. Like, she's just very, very imperfect. I think it's refreshing the way that she's written, even in writing and even reading what I've like trying to read more unhinged Black women. I think there's always this undertone that they still have it together somehow or have it figured out when we really don't. And it's it's like the other side of the stereotype of the Black woman and everything. We constantly have, like, the way that we're characterized is that we have everything under control. And for a good portion of us, that's not true. We have to act like we do, and at least try to, because we have no really other choice. But for the most part, we don't. So I really, really love the character. Not necessarily I love her like, oh, I want to be her best friend, but more so I love her because she seems extremely imperfect in a way that I feel like I've only read white women characters are able to be. We just hit a point where she's finally met the wife, who is, the best way to describe her is like Reese Witherspoon's character from Big Little Lies. Or like Little Fires Everywhere. Like, just anal and like a straight line. And her husband, of course, is tired from all of that. And of course, our main character is the exact opposite of that. So I think that's been interesting. And usually the May-December romance type of thing or whatever really gives me the ick. Like, and it's just like, I get that there's that stuff, and it's not to say that older men can't be, and she's not necessarily an age where it's like, that's gross type of thing either. I think that's not really coming to mind. It's just more so like, and I think that's what it is. Like, I feel like I've read a lot of May-December romances, like they have 23 years apart from each other, and but she's also an age, like she's 24 and he's, let's do the math again, 47 or something like that. And I don't know, I feel like he's not as old that I'm like, and she's not as young that I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Or also like knowing kind of her brain and how it works. There's just something about it that's not giving me as much of an ick, to be completely honest, especially considering some of the things that she's thinking of, and I'm even kind of laughing at in their situations. I think it feels very honest. Enjoying it so far. Can't wait to get back to it. Definitely want to finish it tonight. We'll see if Rest Stop gets read. That is my update. I'm going to start doing my mechs and everything while I listen, and probably check back in another, I want to say maybe an hour and a half when I get 50% in, and see how the book's going from there. Checking back in, I'm a little over halfway. We're at 57%, and I have a little under 3 hours to go in the book. I remember when last time that I checked in, I was like, love how imperfect this character is. There's parts of me that still do. I don't know, it's always really hard for me to read self-deprecating characters because I'm just like, honey, let me give you a hug. Like, I found this even when I read Johnny Appleseed, that the reason why like my original review for it was so much lower than what ended up being my overall review for it after it kind of set in what the book was about, really was because of how self-deprecating the main character was. Like, a majority of the dialogue is just so, girl, why are you doing that? Or why are we doing this? Like, I'm not seeing the payoff. But I also know that that's because just therapy. And the fact that I personally have never been in that situation. So I need to check myself on that because it's more so me judging the character, which is a very realistic mindset for many different people. Like, I deal with my anxiety and self-worth very differently. It's hard for me to empathize with it, but I need to check myself on that. And I'm noticing the same things happening with this character because literally ever since I last checked in, it made a hard left on self-deprecating Fiesta. Like, it was just like, she lost her roommate, she lost her job, which of course she was gonna lose her job. She was throwing her all over the place. Like, it was like, honey, you can't sleep with half the company. Like, that's just, you can't do that. Her basically being homeless because she lost her place. Her making deliveries all over New York and still not making enough to really save up for her own place. Her applying to jobs just because they're jobs. Not even like I'm looking for something or trying to get back into publishing or anything. Just, I'm applying. And I can at least say I'm applying. Like, there's clown school at one point. And even amongst all of that, there's always this self-deprecating undertone, which what I can enjoy, well, not enjoy, but appreciate rather, is that the self-deprecation is both the same and different than books I've read about white women who are imperfect, self-deprecating, going through the motions of just basically hating themselves and letting people do whatever they want to them because of it. It's a very different tone than that because, of course, being at an intersection, she's experiencing it differently than they are. And there's something very aggressive about that I know from reading. I think that's what I'm learning about myself, is that reading books like this, the first go around of it is more like okay, shock value, shock value, shock value. I'm not enjoying this. Oh my gosh, honey, have a hug type of thing. And there's a possibility, depending on how this book ends, that just like Johnny Appleseed and a couple of other books that I've read that are kind of like that, that I'll go, okay, now that some of the shock has worn off, now that some of the God, I just want to hug you type of thing wore off, I can see more of the message and get over myself as far as the whole self-worth thing is concerned, because it pisses me off. It makes me upset. It makes me so upset because I'm just sitting there and I'm just like wanting more. But it's also hard because her life has been not pretty at all. So it's necessary to have that part of the story because it explains why she's allowing these things to happen, why these things are happening to her. She just ended up at the house. I will say this too. I feel like they've kind of taken a very long time to flesh out all of that though. Like we could have cut that down maybe by half. But again, I think I'm in my novella era. Like I feel like I've said that in a couple of videos and stuff, or like on like Instagram, where I'm just like, I feel like I'm in my novella era where it's like, if you can use less words to get the same thing across, let's use less words. And that's where I kind of feel like they harped on it for just a little bit too long. It was kind of just like, God, life is wailing on you. Like literally the last 25% that I've read has been nothing but her life is going downhill, and continuously so. Like nothing's even happening with this family or anything at first. It was just basically 15% of a whole hour and some change of you're just struggling. So it was kind of hard to kind of focus in. Another thing I'll say about this audiobook, I'm not a huge fan of whoever it was who recorded this, because I can tell they didn't record it in a studio, because every now and then I can hear cars. And it's annoying because I'm just sitting there and it's like I want to say every half an hour or so, I hear cars. I hear a car. I hear a bus starting up. I hear cars passing outside, or just white noise. I also really hate this Eric guy, the older guy that she's dating that's a part of this family and everything. He's horrible, to be honest, and every man in here is horrible, to be honest. And even the wife is, what I said before about her being like a Reese Witherspoon type. Yeah. But like Reese Witherspoon, yeah. We're starting to learn more about their daughter, she's adopted and she's Black. And I'm excited to learn more about her because she's in a tough spot with these parents, with nearly finding she's like 12 going on 13, has been passed around a couple of times as far as being adopted is concerned. She's the only Black girl in every area she's in, of course, growing up where she's growing up with the family she's growing up with. And that's why they brought in our main character, which of course is problematic in and of itself. And our main character realizes that, but she also doesn't have anywhere else to go. Which at least I'm kind of like, okay, that sets the scene on why she would even do this, like kind of low-key nanny type of stuff in 2024. Okay, this has kind of gone down to maybe 4, the possibility of a 4, depending on how the ending is and how it continues, just because it was very long. All that description of just spiraling. I've learned that, and that's crazy, me being somebody who reads a good portion of horror and everything, it's not even that blood and guts and gore make me kind of fidgety, but self-worth issues kind of make me a little antsy, because I'm just like, this is killing me. Like, I just wish that you would get therapy or something. I'm at 57% right now. Like I said, with a little under 3 hours to go. It's 11:21. We're gonna continue pushing through. I didn't work on Max this entire time. I instead decided I wanted to do a planner thing because I really wanted to do it. That's why. I got a lot done and I really wanted to do that, so I decided to do that instead. I'm now going to do the mech thing. I'm feeling like I've got maybe, I want to 3 more hours before I'm like, yep, this was as far as I could go on this readathon, which I don't think is too bad. Here's a real life attempt at something like this. So there you go. I just finished Luster. I'm upset. It didn't get any better. I feel like it started off with a lot of promise and purpose of having, and the author wrote a character, an unhinged character that was at least interesting enough to feel actually real, instead of, I feel like this has been an ongoing thing for maybe the last, I want to say 5 years or so, writing imperfect women characters in fiction, in weird girl lit fiction. And the problem isn't writing these imperfect women who are unhinged, make bad decisions, have low self-worth, blah, 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 blah. The problem is that some of them like completely miss the mark in making them interesting and actually having a reason for us reading about them. I feel like that happened a lot this year, like in books like Happy Good Girl, Piglet. I've just heard. I've not read them, but I've just heard. And I've also like, I just feel like we're obsessed with the weird, imperfect girl right now, which we should be. Like, you know, but the problem is people are writing these characters and they're writing these stories with no, so why did we read about it? Like, why are we doing this? Why is she constantly just suffering? Just constant suffering. And by the end, there's no, everybody was obsessed with my year of rest and relaxation and everything. I've not read it yet, but I've heard from others who did not really love the book, mainly because it just was a book about literal just being a sloth for a full year is what she did. And she was imperfect and she was making bad decisions and her internal dialogue was out of this world. And that was it. There was no why. There was no why did we read it though? And it doesn't have to be like like morale or a metaphor necessarily, but like I feel like a lot of those books are losing purpose. Like they're just books for book's sakes. And that's what this was a book written just to be written. Because we got to the end and there was a lot of trauma. As like a Black woman, there was a lot of trauma that was just a lot of trauma as a Black woman that was released in that book for it to go nowhere. Like for it to literally have no real anything. And the literal last paragraph, the author writes, and I think that she was trying to have this final statement from our main character that wrapped up why there was no solution, why there was no, and this is what it all meant, or anything like that. And instead, it felt like editors were telling me I needed to have the book by last week. So, here's the book. I'm frustrated because I feel like the character had a lot going on with them that was at first interesting. That first 25%, I was really dedicated. And random scenes of police brutality towards Black women came up in this book, and they retreated nonchalantly. Like, I mean, in the way of why were they included? And it's not to say that like these moments don't just happen in a blink of an eye, and that I just feel like, and this is coming from somebody who read Little Rot and loved it, which is a very divisive book. Like, you either really loved that book, you really liked it and got where it was going, or you were like, this was a lot, and why? Why did we do all of this? Why did we need to fit all of the struggle and strife and pain in it? But I feel like all of that happened, and then you got to the endings of a lot of those stories, and it at least was like, what is this? Or a release. Or even with Johnny Appleseed, where, like I've been mentioning, there was so much struggle and deprecation and lack of self-worth. And even now, I've sat here and sat with it, and I'm just kind of like, but in the end, a lot of those things came together on the why, even if it wasn't like, so that, you know, a happy why. You know, there was just purpose. This one felt like it had no purpose, and it ended in the strangest scene. It ended in the strangest scene. I feel like our main character really is a queer Black woman who, because of her own trauma with men and homophobia, refuses to acknowledge that she's actually queer and she hates men. That's a read. I think that the author thought they were writing something much more moving than it actually was. And like, I'm the audience that she was trying to move. And I don't feel moved. I feel just traumatized. And not in any way that is enlightening or uplifting or perspective giving or commiserating even. Like, I do not, there's a huge distance there. I don't want to say huge, but I feel like there's just a distance between what the author was trying, what Raven Leilani was trying to do by putting so much trauma in a very small bit of time. I especially don't feel like I could recommend this to another Black woman. It just doesn't. It's like a 2.5. I'm gonna give it a 2.5 because I did enjoy the first 25%. I really did enjoy. I really enjoyed it. And then it just went downhill. It just absolutely, and I don't even think that it's going to be something that like I sit with longer and I'm like, oh, I get it. I think that's gonna be my last audiobook tonight. Which still, I knocked out 2 books today, y'all. That's crazy. That's basically half my usual average for a month in one day. Which I know, like, some of these readathons, people are like, I read 8 books in a day. Y'all, that was never going to happen. Not with how this day was all over the place. And I still received some plan-changing news about even tomorrow. So, we love it. It's all great. It's 2 o'clock in the morning right now. I finished one of the 5. Actually, I'm gonna give myself 45 more minutes. I'm going to give myself until 3 o'clock. And I'm gonna read Nat Cassidy's Rest Stop. So, and I knocked out 2 books today. One of them being really great, other one being disappointment. But I'm now going to read Rest Stop till 3 o'clock. And then do the last check-in. And that is it. So I'm going to check back in with y'all after about 40 minutes or so. And see where we're at. And if I don't check in, I will see y'all tomorrow. Because I really feel like my eyes are getting real low. But we're going to try and push through this Nat Cassidy short story. Novella. It's 123 pages. I think that I can do it. It is editing, Kelsey. Weeks later, I am literally editing this vlog and plan on publishing it today. And I realized that I never checked back in with y'all. I finished Rest Stop that night, which is why I never checked back in with y'all, because literally once it hit around 3:30, I was tired, but I loved reading Rest Stop so much that I was like, oh, I'll just pick it up in the morning, finish it, and then tell them how it was. The following day was so crazy that I never got around to doing that. The following next couple of weeks until we got back into the new year has been crazy, and I've not been able to get my feet under myself. And I realized that I never filmed that ending. I never filmed it. So happy new year to all of you wonderful people. Thank you for watching an hour of me talking, and thank you for continuing to watch my videos. I'm so excited for this upcoming year. So I'm kind of happy that I didn't film it because I could kind of make this relevant to me, like posting it as my first video of the year. Expect more read-along vlogs. I've been really going back and forth on what I want to do with the channel and changing everything, and definitely focusing more on books and lifestyle stuff is something that I definitely want to do, and this is just kind of a taste of some of that. But Rest Stop, loved it. I loved it. I loved it so much. I wish that I could have checked back in while I was reading through it. But the thing is that that book really moves, in my opinion. Like, I was telling another bookstagrammer who's reading it currently that I want it to be made into like a short A24 movie. Like, even just an indie movie. Like a one-shot, really indie horror film. Because of how the way it runs and the way that Nat Cassidy described it while you're reading it, it feels like a movie. And it feels so visual, funny, and also bloody and introspective. And I was talking to another creator today as well who read it and how I loved it. And how, one, I've realized, I don't read extreme horror because it is not because of the blood and gore and guts and whatever. I have an issue, which I've learned from reading Luster. I have an issue with women being in any sort of very traumatic situations, especially if they're sexually traumatic. It gives me the ick, if it's sexual trauma especially. So I realized that about myself because reading Rest Stop, I was concerned that it would feel too bloody, too extreme in some way or whatever. I kept on waiting for myself to be completely and utterly grossed out. And I mean, there are gross things that happen in it, but at no point was I like, oh, this is far too much for me at all. I also was talking to somebody about the fact that I think that Nat Cassidy does a perfect job with Rest Stop. The fear by our main character, who is cis white male, that is the fear that many women and people of color feel going to a rest stop, a gas station in the middle of the night. And I think that's something that I've not heard somebody talk about, how this fear is a very real fear for many different people. It is not extreme. It is not a 1 in 1,000. I do not pump gas at night because literally some of the things that the isolation, the fear, I'm in a box with somebody who could unalive me if they chose to, could kill me if they wanted to, could do whatever they wanted to, take over me if they wanted to, and no one can help, is the fear that a lot of women feel when they go to a gas station, a rest stop in the middle of nowhere, hell, just in the middle of the night, which is why a lot of women do not go to rest stops in the middle of the night. I will pump, if we are going out late, and my gas is getting low and it's still the middle of the day, I'm going to pump gas because we're not going at night. This is a feeling that I've felt before. The fear and the isolation and all of it is something that I've felt before, that I've seen family members feel before, just stopping at rest stops in the middle of the night when traveling down south to go see family members and everything. And I think that whether intentionally or not, that's what I loved about this book, is that so many people are feeling this isolation, this fear, this feels like a 1 in a million, when it's not for a lot of people in regards to rest stops. Rest stops are very scary places, especially ones that are just in the middle of nowhere. And especially at night, they're these very liminal spaces that are very scary for many people. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I finished it, like, I did not want to put it down. Literally, it was because of how tired I was why I finally had to just go to sleep. But the book itself is amazing. I really recommend anybody to go read it. I've given it a 5. It was a 5 for me. And I kept on waiting for there to be this lull, because I heard a couple of people who were reading it were like, oh, I experienced this lull while I was reading it in the middle, like, what are we doing or whatever. And I never experienced that either. I understood, like, the pacing. I love Nat Cassidy. So can't wait to read When the Wolf Comes Home. I think that's his next one that's coming out soon. Away once again. So highly recommend it. Ended up really well. Thank y'all for watching. Yeah, in the new year, I really have a lot of ideas. I'm trying to get ahead on my posting, on my content and everything, so that my posting can be far more consistent. And I also want a lot of like book recommendation videos and more book like focused videos. I want those to be much shorter. I'm aiming for 30-minute videos in the new year for the majority. I know today's is like, right now I'm editing and we're sitting at like 52 minutes. So I know once I tack this on, we're looking at about an hour or so. But I only want my vlogs to be like that long. Wrap-ups, TBR, stuff like that. I just, even for myself, I know that I have a shorter attention span. So why would I why would I expect anybody else to move through it? And it really has to do more with me and my yapping and getting to the point rather than anything else. Expect for, again, as per usual, my vlogs to be less illustrations and more just me yapping, lifestyle type stuff. And with me having shorter videos, there being more, I know that my pop-ups and everything have started to get a little bit repetitious and everything. So I'm hoping that with having shorter videos to edit, the time that can be invested in other places can then be invested in other places. But I'm excited for the new year. I cannot wait. I just thought that I really loved kind of what happened in this vlog, and it was supposed to be posted last year, at the end of last year, and of course with everything going on, it just didn't. And I thought this was still a great way to start the year. My next video is going to be my December wrap-up video. That is what I have that planned. And then I have an unhaul reorg bookshelf video coming soon. So expect for that. Very excited. We have I Love Black Horror book challenge coming soon, just like last year. So there'll be an intro video for that coming soon. I'll be participating in Winterween this year. A holiday book haul, because your girl got so many books in the hardcover sales and thrifting and all this other stuff. So expect for a haul to be coming soon. Reading sprints are back. And a little hidden tidbit of, I'm starting a book club. Like my Patreon, I started that last year, near the like last 6 or so months of last year. And after having those 6 months, I realized kind of where I want to take my Patreon. So I'll be removing a lot of my tiers and doing a two-tier system of Simply Sweeties and the Sweethearts Book Club. So expect some more information about that over on my Instagram. Please follow me over there if you want to know more. I've already chosen this month's book, which will be American Rapture by C.J. Lead. I'm very excited about that. And it will be hosted over on Fable. I'm starting a Discord so we can start talking more over there. I really, really want to be community-based and hear more and talk more to everybody. And that's what I realized I wanted a lot of my focus for my Patreon and other channels on other platforms and stuff to be, is a focus of building the community. And I feel like I fell off of that last year. Like reading sprints went to the wayside and I miss doing those, so we're definitely doing those again. Expect some collaborations to be happening this year. There's just a lot, so I'm excited. I cannot wait. I hope you enjoyed today's vlog, and I will see y'all in the next one coming up, which I think will hopefully be this Friday. So we will see, but I'll see y'all then. Bye.